Welcome to the Don Podcast, a Minnesota music conversation, recorded at CCX Studio, produced by Hobby, and engineered by Jimmy Morris. And now, here's Don.
On this episode, we're joined by Scott Farrell and Stephen Williams from the Down in the Valley record stores to talk all things retail and music. Welcome, guys. Scott, you're the kind of the boss around here, so we're going to start with you.
Yeah, okay.
What's your official title down there?
General manager. Yeah.
And then, so are you the top guy as far as
Top dog.
Yeah,
Under
top dog.
ownership.
I mean,
yeah, sure.
yeah. So ownership. The only thing above you is ownership.
We are, yeah, and this is second generation owners.
Okay.
So Steve Hyland started the store back in '72, and his son and daughter, Brandon and Taryn, are now the owners.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I know you from college hockey.
Yes.
I'm a Gopher fan. You're from North Dakota, so I know
Originally
you.
from North Dakota, yeah.
You're from North Dakota.
Yeah.
Your mom kind of works at the North Dakota
She used to,
hockey.
yes.
She used to,
Yep,
okay.
yep.
So what brought you down to Minneapolis?
I graduated from Moorhead State with a music industry degree, whatever that is. And one of the things to graduate was to do an internship. And so the head of the department got me an internship at Twin Tone Records.
Oh, okay.
So
you
that
worked at Twin Tone
yeah,
then, huh?
Yeah, for it was an internship, so for the summer. And so I worked there, made a lot of calls, made a lot of faxes back in those days, trying to get some of the records played around the country. And that was a pretty interesting time because I don't think that I understood the history of that place at that point. But I quickly learned. One of my favorite stories is always that one day I was down in the Call Bank Center, and there's this guy that just kept popping around. He was just, a little strange. I didn't know who he was, but he talked, every day. And one day I was outside smoking, and he comes up with a box of popsicles. He goes, "You want a popsicle?" Sure, I want a popsicle. So we sat there and shared a popsicle. And I went inside to my boss, Duke Davis, who spent many years working in the record industry. And I said, "Who is this guy that keeps walking around?" He said, "Well, that's Grant Hart from Husker Du." And I said, "Oh, really? Okay, that's who he is." I felt stupid, but yeah, that was a magical time. And then I needed to make some money. Bills were coming due quickly, and one of my friends said, "Hey, Down the Valley's hiring." I was like, "What the fuck is a Down the Valley?" And he goes, record store. And I said, "Okay." So I applied. Didn't get the job initially.
Oh, okay.
My parents owned a hardware store when I grew up, and so I observed retail. I didn't really work in the stores, but I observed retail. And I got a second call back and started, and I was faked my way through it. And then I just never left. So kind of worked my way up from there.
So when you were at Twin Tone, at what point of Twin Tone was that kind of?
This is the TRG group. So this was when everything was kind of split up.
Okay.
And you had a lot of labels that held, that were in there.
Spanish
Fly, yeah, was one
Yeah,
of them. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And the record that I remember working was Milk was the name of the band.
Okay.
Celebration Day or Graduation Day, I think, was the single. And then we did Perfect, which I think was a Tommy Stinson thing.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And a few other various things that I've forgotten over the years. But yeah, it was a good time.
And that was your first introduction to kind of the music business then?
Minneapolis, yeah.
And the
Out of
music
college,
business?
yeah,
Okay,
for
'cause
sure.
you didn't do anything back in North Dakota, or were you interested in music back in North Dakota?
Well,
or?
yeah, I mean, I grew up in a really small town. It was about 1,500. We didn't even have a stoplight, And, but when we moved there when I was 5, and I had been introduced to Kiss from my cousin, and it was on since I learned about Kiss. And I found one other guy in the town right away and befriended him because he liked Kiss too. And then we would end up, putting on the shows, the classic stuff you hear all kids did back then, pretending, dressing up like you were the band and putting on a live, and we'd switch off on which guy we were and things like that. And then my friend Nate Bauer, his dad had a band. He played like the VFW circuit and the country kind of stuff, and he had gear and all this down in their basement. So we just started blinking around and started playing. And then we had a few high school bands, and then I went to college and fell into the music industry degree. I remember my dad was like, "Well, how are you going to pay bills with that?" And I said, he still tells me this today. That he laughs that I said, "Dad, the money will figure itself out." And he reminds me of that a lot. And I guess I've been lucky enough to make a career in music. But the music industry program at Morehead State in the early 90s to mid 90s was as good as it gets. It was rock and roll college. We did performance based. We did studio work. We also had to, study theory and also business. So it was the most credits to graduate at the school at that time. And so you really had to work for it. And so I had a lot of experience there. We'd put on huge shows and things, and I played in the cover band, which I know you love cover bands. But that's what I did for a part-time job instead of working at the gas station or whatever. So that's how we paid the bills, and then I was placed down here, and that's kind of.
So you were a musician then, huh?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You did sound. You recorded stuff, and you did sound for Godhead Silo.
Yes,
there you go.
I worked for a sound company when I was there as well. Yeah, we did like Gore and some of the local shows and stuff like that. And we had a lot of studio stuff, did a lot of recordings and things like that.
So then when you went to Morehead, were you figuring that's what you were going to do, music? Or
No, I didn't know what I was going to do at all. And then my roommate, who was from a town over, who was a much better musician, his band was much better than ours in high school. He was full driven on it. And so we lived together our first year, and I just got hooked.
Okay.
Seeing him in the program, and I joined the next year. So,
and then you said you started just as a teller down at, I don't know what they call them, cashiers, tellers, what do they call them?
Salesperson, clerk,
Sales engineer, or I don't know what.
$4.25 is what I started at. I still have the time card.
That's what I make right now.
Yeah,
you make more than that now?
Yeah, no, sorry, just a $6.50 now. But yeah, $4.25, and I took my lumps. There was many times that I didn't think I was going to continue work there, but I really had a great relationship with the owner, Steve Hyland, at some points, and with a few other great employees that I worked with over the time. Obviously, nobody's as good as Steve, but it's been quite a ride.
And do you think you worked your way up just by knowing the business or knowing the store? Or
you kiss ass.
Bullshit.
Just to kiss ass.
Yeah.
Or do you think your college kind of impressed them a little bit, or not really, or is it just
that didn't
Not
have
all.
anything to do with it. I think it was more of
just your ambition and your attitude.
yeah,
and stuff,
hard
huh?
work. It really was. I mean,
Learning the system and learning how things are done, and willing to take chances and move up the ladder.
And bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah. So.
And I worked in retail a little bit when I was real young, got out of high school and stuff. And I always wondered how retail people, you said you started at $4.25, moved your way up the ladder and stuff. But retail, it's hard to think of retail as a career or as, being a family, running a family, having a lifestyle of retail, because that's not kind of same with bartenders and wait staff, hospitality and stuff. But there is a career. There is a career path in retail. If how do you find that? I mean, does it come to you, or do you find it when you get in there?
We don't have families, so
Didn't get married till I was in my 40s. No kids. It's tough to do.
Maybe there isn't a.
It's hard, especially record store.
There's only a couple of people that hold these kind of jobs in every store.
Right.
A lot of times it's just the owner and employees. Which down the valley definitely was for many, many years. I know that Steve, when he started, was 6-7 days a week. And that was just like my dad at the hardware store. Right? Every Saturday he had to work. And so I saw that from afar. Not that I think that I went in thinking this is I just sort of learned by osmosis or something. I don't know. Yeah.
And then so you're at the top now, and the owner's the only thing above you.
Sure.
So what? I don't want to cause anything here, but what do you see your future? I mean, do you see your ownership of that? Do you see your ownership of another store? Do you see yourself going into some other retail or some other music direction, or have you tried different things?
Don, I was going to be a rock star coming out of college, remember? No, I'm deep in, right? 25 years in now. And what's unique is that, second generation owners, Steve was, for good or for bad, he was like my second dad. Mm-hmm. And so his kids are like family. So we have that relationship.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of value on both sides there, and shared experiences. So
Plus, you're too old to start a new career.
Yeah. So I've been telling them, I'm like, we have to keep Down the Valley going until I retire. So 15 more years or so, and so
that's on record. 15 more years.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
Okay.
So yeah.
And then, do you still play?
Just by myself in my basement. I haven't played in bands. I did play in bands late 90s, early 2000s.
Around town here?
Yeah, probably the most known was supported a woman who I went to college with, and her name was Beck Smith. And she has tons of talent, still does, I'm sure. But she put out a record in the early 2000s, 12 Rods. Guys produced it. And she took a run at it, and we did some showcases and things like that, and just never really.
So you've had a taste of what it takes to. You've had a taste of the musician side of the business.
Yeah, I did a lot growing up and through college, and then being here, you having to work a job and do that. It's much different. It's another relationship you're involved in, and so I guess I haven't had the desire just to go out and do that again.
I try to tell you all the time you should be in a band.
Right.
Wasted talent.
Right.
Wasted talent.
And then, so your duties, you take care of pretty much everything through all the stores. I mean, I was surprised. I was just the other day looking at a lot of the social media stuff that you guys do, your website, Facebook, and a few things. You have your hands in all that then? Or you kind of manage the whole, that's a lot of stuff
I've had different jobs there. Started out at the bottom. Then you start running the store. So a guy, Chad McBride, and I ran the Golden Valley store for about 8 years, and then graduated to a buying job. And then out of necessity, we lost Mike Paradise, who's one of the best employees I've ever worked with, besides Steven. He left at that point, and he was the general manager, and we needed that spot. So it was sort of like by default step. It wasn't at all what I wanted to do. I never wanted to be the general manager, but I've kind of grown into it.
Okay.
So I oversee the store managers, employees, and everything else entailed.
And then you've got 3 stores that you oversee.
Yeah.
Do you do the hiring? Do you do strictly the hiring too, or is that kind of in somebody else's? Is that in the managers?
We like to let the managers do that.
Yeah.
More and more, we're trying to let go a little bit because it gets to be we're at the top. We're doing all of it.
Right.
Steven and I interviewing, and then we're buying the records, and then we're managing. It gets too much. We have to let go, and because we're growing, and vinyl's crazy right now, so we can't do it all. So we have to rely on those guys, and teaching them how to come up has been the biggest challenge, because when you know how to do it, sometimes it's difficult to take the time to teach someone, and let them make mistakes and things like that. But we always have a great crew that works for us.
Steven, what's your title out there?
I'm the assistant general manager.
And
I'm the music buyer.
Okay, and that's at the store in Golden Valley.
All the stores.
Oh, so there's not an assistant general manager at like Crystal, or
No.
what would be
the store managers?
So is there a store manager under you at Golden Valley?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. So there's 3 store. Are you the next up then? There's 3 store managers, and then you'd be assistant general, and then you'd be general, and then there'd be the owner.
Yep.
Is that the
And we have our
hierarchy?
office manager as well. She runs all that. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So a little history on you. Are you from the cities here?
I'm actually from Mankato, born and raised, and I guess if you want how I got into record stores, or records, I should say first. I got into, I was into grunge and music like that, and then I got into Green Day, punk rock, introduced me to a lot of, whole different scene than, my brother and I used to watch 120 Minutes and watch all the grunge stuff and punk rock, and
they used to go through Mankato. There's a
they
pizza
did.
Fire,
I'm a little.
Fire? What was it called?
It was Marty's Pizza.
Marty's Pizza. Yes.
Now I'm a little young for that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but that was slightly before. That'd be more my brother is 5 years older than me. Be more his age of the people that were running that and playing in bands then, the older kids. Somebody was like, hey, you should come to this show. It was Dillinger 4, Man Afraid, Code 13, all Minneapolis bands. this band Jedi from Sioux Falls, and you know, I went to the show Friday, and with a bunch of my friends, all getting into the music at the same time. You know, all getting into punk rock at the same time, like probably like a dozen people that, you know, I was already friends with, all getting into this music at once, which is cool, you know. And then I remember they all had more money than me, right? So their parents gave them like, you know, $40 or something for the show, and my mom probably gave me like $10, you know,
Yeah.
or $20 paid for the show. So at the merch table, my friends bought Dillinger 4 T-shirts, and I bought 7-inch records because they were $3 each then. And I was like, well, my parents have a record player.
Right.
You know, I grew up with vinyl. My mom was always playing records, you know. So I was like, yeah, I'll buy some records. They're $3, you know.
Yeah.
And that seriously gave me the bug. And then I discovered the record store in Mankato early November, which is like 4 blocks from my, you know, my parents' house growing up. And I basically just spent every minute I could hanging out at that store.
Yeah.
If I wasn't in school, like I would just be hanging out there.
Yep.
You know, I'd be like the annoying kid, annoying the staff. But you know, they'd be like, hey, untrap these 300 CDs and we'll give you a free used CD. You know, and doing stuff like that, and you know, getting them lunch for, you know, promo CDs and stuff like that. And you know, I used to buy just 7, like records were cheap. You know, when you talk now, I mean, CDs were $20 and records were $8.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You know, especially punk rock stuff. It was all being made on records still.
Right.
So it's easy, you know, that really just gave me, you know, I went to school for graphic design, but as soon as I started hanging out in the record store, that's all I wanted to do. And I used to, you know, beg them for a job, hang out. And they're like, yeah, maybe when you're 18.
Yeah.
Then I turned 18, I graduated high school, and they hired me.
Did you walk in on your birthday?
Oh, no. No, I was still in school.
ID.
I had to wait till I graduated, you know. But yeah, I literally graduated and they offered me a job, and that's so unlike Scott, that's the only career thing I've ever.
Right. So you went right
once
into
I did that, that's all I ever wanted to do.
Yeah, but you got a degree.
Oh yeah, graphic design, but
Yeah.
you know, as soon I didn't care about it, you know, like as soon as I started working at the record store, I knew that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do anything else. And they closed the Mankato store. They offered me a job at the Sioux Falls early November. It's like the main store. They have stores out in Montana and Wyoming and South Dakota. And they closed the Mankato one. Went out to Sioux Falls, spent 10 years there working record store. And then I moved up here.
What brought you?
Relationship I was in at the time.
Okay. And then when you came to town, did you kind of look?
I applied at every record store.
So you didn't pick out one, or you didn't research it or anything. You just kind of wanted to be in a record store.
I applied at all of them. There's, you know, if I'm being honest, I didn't know if I, you know, down in the valley was the right one for me at the time. But
it's amazing how that stuff works out, though.
Yeah.
You know how you apply at a lot of different other places, and all of a sudden you get into one, and it seems to be one that connects.
Yeah.
With people, you know, a big thing with record store. I was the same as you. In high school I hung around a record store, and that's what I did. And I was the little pain in the ass there and stuff.
What store was it?
The Wax Museum down in Robbinsdale.
Yeah. Okay, I've heard about it.
Tony down there. Yeah, me and Tony became good friends, and so I was just down there all the time, every second. And I know how that whole thing goes and how you get into records and stuff. But it seems like just because that was the store I went to, I mean, I connected with Tony and stuff, and we just became really good friends and stayed friends forever. And it's amazing how, you know, you could have gone to some place that had just an asshole for, you know, a manager.
Yeah.
And a different asshole for a manager. And it just wouldn't worked out, you know.
Yeah, for sure. There's a store that, you know, said, hey, you know, I got a spot for you. My boss at early November called him and, you know, lined it up, but just kind of kept giving me the runaround. A little too busy, and, you know, I got bills, you know.
Right.
So it's
Boss
like
never called me.
I can only be unemployed for so long, you know, and I'm, you know. So, you know, Scott, you know, offered me the job, and then I took it, and I don't think I could have landed at a better spot, honestly.
Right, yeah.
Or had a better boss.
Right.
I'm not just saying that because he's here.
Yeah.
And I don't think, you know, for Steven, I don't think at the other places he probably would have been able to work into where he's at.
Right.
In the spot which is his dream spot if he's going to work in music retail is buying. You know, you know, that I think, like you say, kind of works out sometimes.
Right, and you know, you guys during the pandemic, you were doing stuff on Facebook, and you're still doing some stuff on Facebook with the used records and different things.
Yeah.
And you guys really got a connection, and you can see that when you're together and when you're alive, and even in the story, you know, you can see a little connection between. Some people have the connection, some people don't, and you can see that between you guys, especially on those YouTube shows and stuff. That you know, you play off each other, you have a similar thing, and it just seems like a good place for both of you to have landed. Is you know, kind of.
We spend more time with each other than we do our wives. So, and you know, I've always said, people, you know, we have a relationship that is, we can be bombastic at times, but it never goes over the line. It's almost like this is a relationship like being in a band. It really is. I've been in bands. He's been in bands. It's very familiar to being in a band.
And you said you also have a label, Stephen.
Yeah. So I have
kind of a side project that you've kind of picked up for just to keep.
I've actually been doing. So I've been working record stores for 21 years, and I've had a record label for 20 years.
Oh, okay.
And it's just something I do.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
How'd you start it?
Started down in Mankato.
Started in Mankato.
Who was the first?
2001.
Was it your own band that you started?
No. I've never been in a band that anyone would want to record or release stuff from. My band's been jokes. It was this band from Iowa City called the Vita Blue. Then they sold their name to the guy from Fish for $10,000, and because he wanted a band called Vita Blue, which is named after a baseball player. And they weren't supposed to tell anyone how much money he paid them, so they named their band 10 grand, which is genius.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it was a CD for them. I've put out over 100 things.
What's some of the stuff now? What's the latest release that you got out?
The latest release is band from Rapid City. They're an atmospheric black metal band called Woman is the Earth, and they've played up here a bunch. Austin, who owns Hammerheart Brewing up here, has a black metal band called Panopticon. He really likes them, so they've played a lot of shows with them, which is super cool and helped them out a lot.
And that charted. I mean, it was really good on the charts.
Oh yeah, it was like number 3 or something on the Bandcamp metal charts when it came out, and the first press just blew through. And I put out like a Ken Mode record. It won a Juno Award, which is a Canadian Grammy.
Juno Award winner right here.
Yeah, and band from Japan, Melt Banana, that's toured with Tool and Phantomus and Faith No More, and they're
on your label.
I did a 7-inch for them. Yep.
Okay. And your label is mostly
metal, hardcore stuff.
Harder metal stuff.
Yeah, pretty inaccessible, pretty like not accessible for most people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the name of the label?
Init Records, INIT.
Okay.
Records.
And then go ahead.
I usually don't promote it or talk about it.
I keep having to push him. Like,
it's not about me. It's whatever.
And then I knew Ted, who was in Donna Valley, which was a metal band. They always had trouble finding places to play here in town because there's really not a metal place in town. I know Ryan's over in St. Paul was kind of the metal house. Is there a metal bar in town or not really?
Well, there was the Hexagon, which burned down,
right?
And that was kind of a shithole anyway.
Yeah.
You know, but
that was a metal that was.
Yeah, I think right now it's Part Wolf. It used to be the Nomad.
Mm-hmm. Down on Five Corners.
Yep. And they've been doing a lot of metal shows.
Oh, have they? Okay.
Yep. So.
And I know the Caboose does some metal shows, but I don't know if do they do the harder stuff or they?
Once in a while. I haven't really seen them doing too much since everything's back open, especially not like local or smaller stuff. And I think I heard there's a new bar in St. Paul doing metal shows. I can't remember what it's called. It's like North Star or something.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's interesting that when Ryan's left, closed down, there really was no place for those guys to go, and you got to kind of have one bar that's a scene that you can kind of go to, because if you're just sitting at home and you just want to go see something and you're a metalhead, you want to go to a bar and you don't care who's playing as long as it's metal, you just don't want to go and see
the Beatles cover band.
Christopher Cross or something. So it's good to know where those bars are and where you can go. And okay, so we know what your music style is. What kind of music style do you have? I mean, what's your kind of your main?
Started with Kiss, right? 5
Yeah.
years old.
So you still
It's still into Kiss.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
right.
It just ends at Kiss.
But I had that cool uncle, you know, that when I was young too. Instead of he said, put the Kiss away. Here's Led Zeppelin. Here's Black Sabbath. Here's all that classic stuff. So well versed at an early age on all that stuff. And as a guitar player, like growing up, you know, you kind of listen to those things that you emulate the people you want. So it was mostly guitar driven stuff. Now, not like instrumental Joe Satriani. That's
Right.
you know, but rock band, Guitar Hero stuff. And then a lot of metal, grunge. You know, over the years, I've gotten more into jazz. Just with the record side. I had a guy at the store who was moving and gave me a whole collection of jazz, and from that point, I was like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, and I would think at a record store you get a lot of different varieties of stuff. I mean, you have your go-to and the stuff that you like, but you know, you got to be inundated with all kinds. I mean, through labels, through musicians, through bands, through customers, almost through anything that you're really inundated with.
Sure.
Different styles and different.
So many
Different-
bands, so many artists, so
Right.
many releases. The older I get, it's harder for me to pay attention to most of it. And, you know, for us, you know, we used to get promos sent to us, hundreds of promos, CDs sent to us each week. You know, we're lucky to get 5 or 6 these days.
A month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a month.
Really, those
Yeah.
promos have gone away.
Yeah,
huh?
they've totally gone away, and it really hurts, I think, our staff because they end up playing kind of the same old stuff, and they don't get that variety where it was, you know, my music knowledge is like this when I, you know, an inch
Right.
long at down the valley, and in a year's span, you know, it really broadened. I was listening to everything, and coming from North Dakota, I didn't get to go to a lot of concerts.
Right.
So when I got on that First Avenue guest list right away, I was going to everything. You know, didn't matter. One of the most memorable shows I ever saw was Baba Mal, the Senegal musician, and his band, and it just blew me away.
Right.
You know, first
Yeah.
couple of years I was here. So
And do you find that too, Stephen? That you've been at record stores for 21 years, so you were young when you started out. But do you see the expansion of your musical?
I'm like the most like
Street
I do
line?
not have an expand like I have a
You like one thing and that's
expanded
it?
knowledge of music from working around it, and like I pay attention. I especially the younger kids who work there. I was kind of what are they listening to? What do they like? Because I'm ordering music and you have to have the stuff people want.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as what I like,
That hasn't changed.
I
at
like
all.
punk and metal and grunge, and that's about it. You know, I like some indie rock stuff, and
you like some doo-wop?
I like the Foundations.
Yeah.
You know, I like the That's not really doo-wop, but I like the Foundations. But one of the things though about with promo CDs, it's kind of funny because some of the bands, like the newer bands that I like, are, you know, more indie rock stuff, and it's only because we got promos. Waxahachie, Mannequin Pussy,
Yep.
Hop Along. Like these are bands I never would have listened to if
Right.
we didn't get promos. You know, and then when you hear it every day, you're like, oh, this is kind of good. This is kind of catchy. You know.
So hard to pay attention to things now because, you know, you're just inundated with just masses of releases.
There's too many
Pay
bands.
attention to this band, this band.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
Too many
You know,
bands.
it's just
Yeah.
like, it's too many bands. You know, I don't think it should be back to the days of the gatekeeper and those kind of things, but there's too many now. I mean, we see it all the time. You know, new release week, if it doesn't hit then, it's never going to hit.
Right.
And after the first week, it'll hit. It's nobody cares 2 weeks later. And that's the sad part about it. Nothing's got legs anymore.
Right.
It's because there's it's the same as like news. It's
Yeah.
what's happening right now. It's like the whole American culture of now, new. It's not pushed in front of them on social media on their Facebook feeds. They don't care, you know.
Yeah. And now TikTok is
Yeah.
you know the biggest
Yeah.
thing to break new bands, which you know we have some locals here that are doing very well right now.
But it's not going to be longevity.
Right.
You know, that's the thing. It's like what TikTok band had a minute. Oh, album leaf, hot. No one cares.
Yeah.
You know, you see the sales just drop.
Yeah.
I asked you to bring in some music, and we'll play tonight some local music and stuff. And the first one we'll go into is a band called Vile.
Yes.
How How come you picked this
Vile, local band, punk rock, great energy. We had them playing the store here a couple months ago when the record was out. And I just love the energy and like that sort of that, not naivety, but you know what I mean? They're right
Innocence,
at the beginning.
the
innocence, yes. And it's real, right? Their aggression is real. And the things they sing about is real. And to me, that's just, it's not fake, you know?
Yeah.
And I love that about it. You know?
They're excited when they
Yeah.
do. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes bands come in and they like, you know, you can tell that let's just get this in store over with. Like they want to do it because they want to sell the records or whatever else. But yeah, they seem like they're generally having fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not to say other bands that did in stores didn't have fun, but
you get the attitude.
More energy, more excitement.
Right.
They haven't been, you know, their spirits haven't been broken yet.
Yeah,
They're-
that's true.
let's
They're
put it
they're
that
hungry.
way.
They're
Yeah.
hungry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this will be Roadkill from Vile. Cool.